You're listening to The Whole Truth, a Resources Rising Stars podcast.
Downstream processing of minerals is the holy grail for the Australian mining industry. Let's face it, we haven't had much success on that front in recent times. In fact, not much success over many decades. But today's guest on The Whole Truth podcast is Richard Maddocks. He's the Managing Director of Kingsland. Kingsland has the biggest graphite resource in Australia, located in the Northern Territory. So what's the point of having a great big graphite resource? Well, the key to this project is it looks like they're on track to become a major graphite supplier to the EV industry through the role of graphite in lithium batteries. Kingsland recently announced a game-changing deal with a big company called Quinbrook. Quinbrook is a fund that invests in a whole range of renewable energy projects and the like. It has said that it would like to be heavily involved in this project. It can take the graphite produced at the Leyland project in the Northern Territory, take that concentrate, it can supply renewable energy to the project and help in a whole range of ways. It has vast experience, great deep pockets, lots of resources, lots of know-how and a serious track record. What a great partner for a company like Kingsland. Kingsland is now working up its resource to the indicated category. It's doing key metallurgical work to prove that the graphite will be suitable for use in EV batteries. And this could be a shining light in the Australian mining industry, a company that goes from an early stage explorer through to a supplier of graphite for EV and lithium batteries. Richard, you've had a cracking couple of weeks. News flow, major announcements, game-changing announcements, not just any old deal. Tell us, let's start from the beginning here with the announcement about the Quinbrook deal. Who is Quinbrook?
We think this is a really transformational deal for Kingsland. Quinbrook, they're not well known, they're not listed, but they're a very large fund. They've been investing in the transitional energy scene and renewables for a long time. And they've invested billions and billions of dollars in Australia, the UK, and the US as well, really targeting renewable energy facilities and the like, as part of the energy transition. So they're a really good partner for us.
So when you say they're a partner, what have they done? How are they partnering with Kingsland?
They're a partner in the fact that they've come in now with a 15.3% shareholding. They're our largest shareholder now. They've also come up with a offtake agreement with us. And also the provision to provide us with renewable energy as well.
So you've got a global renewable energy giant, in effect, on your share register for 15% and they paid a premium to get there.
That's right, yeah.
Why have they paid a premium?
Well, look, to us it's a real tick of approval for the project and the company, I think. They're keen on, obviously, the graphite for batteries and obviously the location close to Darwin. And I think if you look at their end game, well, the end game for both of us now is to produce flake graphite at the Leyland project, truck it up to Darwin and then process it in Darwin into downstream.
So did Quinbrook come? How did this come to be? Did Quinbrook come to Kingsland, to you, and say?
Well, yeah, this has been a while in the making. This deal, probably the best part of 12 months. They approached us initially. That they saw the project after we announced the resource estimate and some of the drill results last year. They were keen on the project, and it went from there.
So when you say Quinbrook are partnering with you, the idea being that Quinbrook obviously came to you because they like the fact that Kingsland has the biggest graphite resource in Australia, the Leyland project. Yeah, I assume that was the carrot.
That's one of the attractions, that's right. And also, like I said, the location close to Darwin. Yeah. So it's all set up for development there, close to Darwin. And I think if you look at Quinbrook too, they're also the construction partner with Grok Ventures for the Sun Cable as well. Now, I think stage one of the Sun Cable is to get solar power up into Darwin, and that runs right past our project. So it makes sense for Quinbrook to be involved as well in that regard.
Right. So there's no doubting the size, the magnitude of Quinbrook, the depths of their pockets, their experience in renewable energy and the like.
Yep,
and they're obviously on the front foot. They're here to wheel and deal.
Yep.
But they've identified Kingsland because of the Leyland graphite resource. Tell us about this resource. It's not just another graphite project, is it?
Well, look, we released our first resource in March this year, and that was 195 million tonnes. It's by far the largest graphite resource in Australia, one of the largest in the world. We've only drilled a small part of the total strike length, about 4 kilometres or thereabouts, out of about 15 to 20 kilometres of strike length. So there's a lot of upside there. It's a big resource, and given what we've put out so far with the resource estimate, there's obviously scope there to have a significantly larger deposit. And our end, the end for this to us is to have multi-decade mine producing graphite products for processing in Darwin. So it's going to be a significant player in the industry in the future.
So where do you go to now? You've got Quinbrook on the register. You've got the biggest resource in Australia. What happens next?
Well, we're doing some drilling now, infill drilling, to upgrade a part of the resource to indicated. We're targeting about a 600 metre strike length of that. All going well, we hope to get around 20 million tonnes into indicated, but we'll do the resource estimate when the results are back. That'll underpin a scoping study where we're also doing metallurgical test work at the moment. I was at the lab yesterday, and they're progressing with the bulk concentrate sample, which will be finished before Christmas, hopefully.
Now, this is a key point, isn't it? Because to have the biggest resource is one thing. You've got to get that into an indicator category, more and more of it. But more importantly, you want to show that the metallurgical studies are taking you down the path to establish that this graphite is ideal for making into lithium batteries.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and again, it's I should stress that it's very early days for the company. It's still an inferred resource. The test work we've done so far indicates we can get a concentrate of around 94%, which is a good grade concentrate at good recoveries, up around 80%. We're now doing the bulk concentrate. We'll generate around 10 kilograms or thereabouts of concentrate. That'll go off to Germany for further testing, and they'll assess the viability to process that into spherical graphite and then to purify it as well.
But it all looks good so far. You've passed every test along the path to establishing you're good for lithium batteries. You've passed every test so far.
At this stage, that's right.
With flying colours.
Yeah, that's right. It's a fine flake product. We haven't got coarse flake. It's fine flake. Hopefully that'll be suitable for the battery market with a spheronisation process. But at this stage, we've got a big resource. We've got a good concentrate grade. We've got good recovery. So at this stage, it's all full steam ahead. Yeah.
So as you get those met results, you put them into this scoping study. Mm-hmm. And what's the next stage with Quinbrook? You've completed the scoping study to show that this thing all makes good sense.
Yeah. Look, and that'll be most of next year. We'll the scoping study will involve the resource upgrade, metallurgical test work. Then we'll look at capital cost requirements on a scoping study level, mine design work and the like, and things like that. It'd be nice to think, maybe this time next year or thereabouts, that we'll be in a position to say, okay, this is a project, it is viable, and the next step then is to push forward into feasibility. And obviously that requires more funding. Now, Quinbrook can take part in that funding as well. They've already said that. Right. But that's probably the main benefit of working with a partner like Quinbrook, is that they can open up some of those.
So what's the name of the game here for Kingsland is to establish a mine, obviously, on this great resource, but to build a plant that would produce graphite concentrate? That's
right, yeah. Kingsland will be producing graphite concentrate at Leyland, near Pine Creek. That'll be trucked up to Darwin, and there'll be a facility there which will process that graphite into.
Now, that's another interesting part of the chain, isn't it? The facility in Darwin.
Yeah.
So Quinbrook would be involved in a plant in Darwin. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, they would be. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that wouldn't be for Kingsland. You'll sell the con.
At this stage, Kingsland will sell the con to another party, which will have the processing facility in Darwin. That's right.
Right. Yeah. And then they send it overseas for making into batteries.
Well, I don't know at this stage. It'd be nice to think that they can make batteries in Australia. So, that's probably the end game, I'd imagine. But the initial thing is, Quinbrook consumes batteries in their infrastructure projects around the world. They've gone sort of upstream to source raw graphite. They're now going to be producing spherical graphite, and that'll be going into battery anode material for batteries as well, which they consume. So, that's what the one thing that attracted us to the deal with Quinbrook is the fact that it's sort of independent from the current market for graphite. It's a pretty tough, brutal market out there for graphite concentrate, as you can see from some of our peers who are producing and trying to develop projects. It's very, very difficult. I think with Quinbrook, we've already got offtake sorted out. If you look at the offtake agreement we released, they can take all of our product, or we supply as much as they need for their processing facility in Darwin. So we're locked in now for offtake.
They bring a lot of benefits to the table, don't they?
That's right. Yeah.
So Quinbrook, would they also be involved in the power supply? Would they wearing their renewable energy hat?
And they've got the option to supply renewable power as well. So once and it's important to see that very recently the Sun Cable got environmental approval for the federal government. The Singapore government recently also gave it the tick as well.
So under that proposal, they would sell some of the power that's going to be produced for the Sun Cable to the Leyland graphite processing plant.
That's right, yeah.
So you become, in effect, a cornerstone shareholder or customer, should I say, for
Yes,
for that renewable power plant.
Yeah, that's right, and and that's very important too, because not only is it important in regard to cheap power, which you need in these processes, it's also important the fact that it means our graphite will be produced with very low carbon emission.
Low carbon footprint.
So, and that's obviously the benefit of having an EV or a battery storage, is to reduce your carbon.
So when you come to sell the carbon, you get a premium for it because you can establish that this has a low carbon footprint in production.
Well, that's right. You'd hope there'd be a premium, but the main thing, it comes down to cost. The main thing, like I said before, it's a very brutal market, graphite. I think if you look at some of the classical economic theory, the barriers to entry for new entrants into an industry, I think graphite is particularly tough, given that it's controlled virtually wholly through China. They supply most of the world's flake graphite and most of the world's refined graphite. So it's a very, very tough.
But you'll be able to show that the graphite coming out of Leyland is made using renewable energy, not using coal-fired energy. That's right.
So it'll be a clean product, and it'll be a cost-competitive product with the energy coming out of the sun cable, hopefully.
So let's have a look at that market. You say it's controlled by the Chinese. Well, how is the market sitting? It's obviously the graphite price has been pretty soft for some time now. How do you see it recovering?
Oh, look, it is soft, like a lot of battery minerals have been. Nickels is a bit soft, cobalt, and obviously so is lithium. So it's soft in that regard. Look, I think it comes down to a couple of things. A is the increased demand for graphite in not just EV batteries, but also storage batteries as well. And that's going to increase. There's no doubt about that. EV sales are increasing every month, and batteries are getting better and better, and storing more energy, for domestic use and also industrial use as well. So there's always a demand there for graphite that will grow. And you combine that with any sort of geopolitical considerations as well about the supply, and some of the larger markets for these products, like the USA and Europe, are trying to diversify away from China.
Now, you mentioned the USA. Where do you think the Trump election leaves the graphite market? What impact could it have?
Well, the USA has already announced tariffs on graphite products being imported into North America or the United States. So I don't think it'll change it that much. It's interesting. I saw a comment on TV the other day about, Elon Musk's heavily involved now in this administration or the next administration. He's a large producer of EVs, which is a large consumer of graphite as well. So, look, I don't think it'll have any significant negative impact.
No.
It'll be positive, if anything.
Arguably positive.
Yeah, that's right.
Presumably, the Trump administration wants more made in America. Tesla wants support to sell EVs, and they're going to need the graphite, as you rightly say. They're going to source it, you would have thought, from friendly countries.
That's right, and that's already...
Australia's in the box seat.
Yeah, the Inflation Reduction Act already considers that. Graphite from places like Australia, Canada, Europe, those sort of places, which have got graphite resources.
It's hard to see how anyone could be better placed. The biggest resource, if the Met continues to go the way it looks like it's going, it's highly suitable. You've got this giant partner on your books supplying renewable energy to the plant. It sort of doesn't really get much better. The planets would seem to be aligning well and truly.
They have been so far, Paul.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty good journey the last 12 months. I think, Quinnbrook was, like I said, it took a while to get that, both parties, to agree to what we were doing, and we've done that. And I think it's a very positive result.
So what news flow are we expecting now? You're doing the Met studies already front and centre, aren't they, in the drilling?
Yep. Look, drilling. We're drilling now. There's assays in the lab now, so we'll get results back in the next few weeks. We'll release those. Once we get the drilling finished, well, hopefully we'll get it finished. We're a bit late starting this year. The wet season will start pretty soon. So if we can finish that program, we'll get a resource upgraded to indicate a resource and release that sometime earlier next year. We're expecting to get the metallurgical results from Germany. It might be the first quarter next year, but it might be a bit later. We'll wait and see. So once we get those things done, once we get the inferred resource, we get the metallurgical test work, which shows we can produce ferrochrome graphite. Once we get those two things done, we'll launch into a scoping study and come up with a viable project, which makes sense economically. And if we can prove that up in the scoping study, we'll launch ourselves into a feasibility study.
Right. As we say, it's coming together beautifully, absolutely beautifully. Yep. As we said at the outset, Quinnbrook is obviously a game-changing agreement for you. It puts you on a path. It's all very well having a great whopping graphite resource, but do you have a pathway to production and cash flow?
Yeah, that's right.
And given the size of the project and what's involved here, our partner at Quinnbrook is a massive step up to supply power, offtake agreements. They've sort of got you covered at both ends of the chain.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And they've got a serious track record.
Yeah.
So
And I've got to mention too that they're also an Australian company. So it's for any longer term strategy of producing these sorts of things in Australia and downstream processing in Australia, it ticks all those boxes.
it is the holy grail for minerals in Australia, isn't it? Downstream processing, we've never really got there in iron ore or lithium, to say the least. So this would have the chance of becoming an absolute highlight in the mining scene, to be able to take a project from an early exploration phase through to producing well-processed graphite for use in an EV and lithium battery. It is the holy grail.
Yeah, that's right. It's a fantastic outcome. I think that's why it is a transformational agreement. I think, as I say. Yeah.
Great, Richard. Thanks for your time, and I think we will revisit this as the MET studies come in, because obviously that's going to put you on a pathway to EV, being a key EV supplier.
That's right.
Great,
Paul. Yep.
Thanks very much.
Okay, good on you, Paul. Thanks, mate.
You've been listening to The Whole Truth, a Resources Rising Stars podcast, produced by Resource Media, hosted by Paul Armstrong for Reed Corporate. Please note that Reed Corporate does not provide investment advice, and investors should seek personalised advice before making any investment decisions.